We well, everybody, welcome. I'm excited to be with you virtually, I guess. But the fact that we're able to have this conversation is a great sign. We're excited about having just the opportunity to play our game and to have a season and in the midst of great disruption. The fact that we are here today is I think a real positive sign, and I know the season will be vastly different this year than anyone we've seen before, and the last 7 months have been vastly different than any of us imagined. But we're thankful to be here today.
Mark, can you talk about where you are in terms of practice? You start officially on Saturday, I believe. But what have you been able to do so far, and what do you expect Saturday to be like for you?
Well, we have not had our entire team together for 7 months because of cohort sizes and different things that have come up. Saturday will be the first time in 7 months that we've had the entire team together. Obviously, we've had severe limitations on what we've been able to do on a court or outside, and contact has been very limited, and so we're going to progress slowly because we know that it's going to be a process to get back, and we have to do it safely. So, we are going to start practice on Saturday, and I think we'll progress as much as we think they can, as we think they can handle safely. And I do think we have a decent level of conditioning. I don't think we're anywhere near game shape. I'm not sure we're quite in practice shape, but I do think we're in a position physically where hopefully we can begin to progress and handle the cardiovascular challenge of playing our game, and the physicality that's also going to be reintroduced to their bodies.
Do you have any limitations for what you can do in practice?
No, I don't think we have a lot of limitations now. Obviously we have to be masked, and we have a sanitation process that's it could be considered cumbersome, but it's the right thing to do. So no, I think we feel like we can pretty much play the game as it's supposed to be played. We just haven't done that for so long that you just can't go from 0 to 100. We're going to have to slowly reintroduce contact and the ability to respond to contact, to take contact in the air and still land safely. I mean, there's a lot of things that they haven't done for several months, and so we need to be smart about how we reintroduce the game to them.
Could you talk about any challenges that you had practicing on the tennis courts?
Well, there were a ton of challenges. The first couple of weeks we didn't have a ball. We didn't have goals. I mean, we just tried to reintroduce them to the basketball movements that they have to be conditioned to perform. Once we got baskets, we had mornings that were so cold you could see your breath. We had afternoon groups where guys were throwing on sunscreen. We had wind, we had smoke, we had days we had to cancel. We had numerous obstacles outside, but to be honest, our team and these young people have had a very resilient approach, and every day we try to make it somewhat productive. But obviously, there's a few days taken away from us because we couldn't go inside or outside. But we always tried to make a little progress back each day. But and I'm thankful. We're really thankful that our tennis programs were so unselfish that allowed us to use their facility, and that our baseball program allowed us to use the batting cage for us to lift and set up an outdoor weight room. So we tried to deal with the challenges with a grateful heart, because we knew a lot of people made sacrifices for us. But it's hard to really gauge a guy's ability to shoot the ball when the wind's blowing.
To carry on from that, what do you start with now that you're back in the gym as far as teaching?
Well, I think the thing that, obviously there's a baseline of conditioning that you have to establish. And one of the transitions that we had to make was go from the outdoor surface to the indoor surface. And as soon as they got inside, they had all this energy, and they wanted to jump through the ceiling, but they hadn't been landing after jumps like that. So we had to progress slowly. So because we had to, we just had to get used to and to retrain our joints and our soft tissues and condition them to be able to handle all those things. And we've been able to successfully do that with everybody. And now, the conditioning level is something where we feel confident we can train them. We can reintroduce, the ability to play 1-on-1 and 2-on-2 and to box out and rebound. And so I think it'll come back rather quickly, but there'll be a progression certainly for everything that we do. It's one thing to shoot the ball, for the past couple months. And it's a different thing when there's a defender standing in front of you. So we've got to get used to playing against defense, and we haven't played live defense in several months. And so, that's going to be something else that we need to get back up to speed on as soon as we can.
Mark, have you had any guys opt out? And are all the foreign players get back on the roster?
We have everybody here. No one has opted out. Not everyone came back at the same time. I mean, one of the significant challenges that we had was the travel bans, the restrictions on international travel. We have a freshman from Toronto, we have a sophomore from Toronto, and they were both under different rules to return. And so navigating, that was just another part of the matrix that we had to figure out. But everyone's back. Some guys came back. I think the last one to return was in September. So everyone's been here for a few weeks. Everyone's been cleared through the health and safety protocols, and everyone's been really back training for nearly a month. And so we're thankful to have everyone finally back together.
Mark, what's the status of eligibility status of Jared Heider? Is he going to be able to play for you this season?
Yeah, Jeff, I don't know. I wish I knew as we start practice. I wish I knew, because certainly his eligibility impacts, how we would plan to play. He's waiting word from the NCAA. I have no idea when we'll get that information, but we don't know at this point. So still waiting to see. And so, like everything in the past several months, we'll have plan A and plan B, and try and execute them both at the same time.
The NCAA seems like they've sort of rubber stamped a lot of these kinds of things. Are you surprised it's taken this long?
I don't know. I mean, I think the responsibility, of how long it takes can probably be spread around. At the end of the day, that's really not the point. The point is what's going to be the answer, and we just don't know it, and hopefully we'll know it soon.
Is it difficult to tell? Usually in an off season, they come back and you can tell which guys maybe are ready to make a leap forward. Given all the totally once in a lifetime circumstances this year, is it impossible to see which guys may be ready to do that?
I think it's a little more challenging, to be honest with you. There was some erosion and some deterioration physically in some of these guys' bodies, and some erosion in their skills because they just weren't able to play our game, which you need to play all the time to keep it polished. So when they came back, we were anticipating that they would be behind where we thought they would be. I think physically that they were further behind than what we had anticipated. So really it's been about recovery and getting back in a position where we could really train. And in the last couple of weeks, we've had some guys we've been able to push, and I think get them back to where we're getting to the point where in the next 2 or 3 weeks we could see who could make a jump. But I think it's probably a little hard to tell right now, Jeff, just because of the circumstances.
Mark, what do you think the impact on your team will be of the extra year of eligibility?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's finalized. We haven't had any conversations about it. So, we're trying to get to Saturday. We're trying to get to Saturday and have practice. So I really don't know. I don't even know if that's final. I'm not aware that it's final. I heard there was some conversations about it, but we really haven't addressed that yet, Jacob.
Has the pandemic affected your ability to recruit for the class of 2021?
Oh, I think the pandemic's had a massive effect on recruiting because we lost, the ability in the spring to go out and visit underclassmen. We lost the entire July evaluation period and the chance to see kids live. We lost the September contacts period and the ability to go into a kid's home and sit down with them face to face. I think that we've tried to do all of this virtually, all of this off of film. Which is dangerous. We signed a couple kids in the spring, Mikhail Foreman and Ryan Bentley, who we'd never seen play, never seen in person. So I think that the impacts of recruiting have been significant. What I think we've tried to avoid is we tried to avoid making a 4-year mistake, being very selective in who we recruit because it's been a little bit of a challenge. And sometimes when you're ahead and you're established and you're not in a rebuilding situation, you can be a little bit ahead in your recruiting. Obviously, as we continue to rebuild, we're not quite there yet. So it's had its impact for sure.
Can you talk about what you've seen of those two new guys, Bentley and Foreman, and while you're at it, Heider, what you've seen in the practice you've had so far?
Well, it's a lot more enjoyable to watch our shooting drills because these kids can make 3-point shots, and we wanted to improve our 3-point shooting through our recruiting last spring. We wanted to improve our 3-point shooting through thousands of makes in the spring and the summer, and we were not able, obviously, to get those reps in the gym. But we do have some guys who've come in with experience and the ability to shoot the ball. So Mikhail's really, I think, transitioned well. He has the ability to shoot, and he's got a lot of experience, and he's a good ball screen player. I think he's strong physically. So I've been really encouraged by his start. Ryan Bentley is a terrific shooter with obviously a degree from the Wharton School of Business. He's a smart guy, but not all smart people are smart players, but he's both, and his ability to shoot and his experience, I think, has been really welcomed, and he's fit in, rather seamlessly as well. Then Jared Heider, who we actually played against, and I think his natural IQ for the game really, I think, was apparent in our very early walkthroughs. I think he's got the versatility to play a couple different places, and so I've been really pleased with Jared also. So those three guys have been welcomed additions, and certainly their ability to put the ball in the basket is hopefully something that we can take advantage of.
Until you get the word on Heider, is Foreman probably your other point guard along with Joel?
Correct.
Coach, Ben Parker from Cal Rivals here. Could you just touch a little bit on what you expect from some of your returning your sophomores, Joel Brown, Kwani, Lars, what you expect, what leaps, and DJ, and Dimitri, what leaps you expect maybe from some of those guys this year?
Well, I think they're all, we expect them all to be better players. They lost the most important offseason of their careers. The jump that a player makes between his freshman and his sophomore year is arguably the most important offseason that a kid can have, and that was taken away from them. So, I think we have to be somewhat patient and understanding that they missed out on 8 or 10,000 makes over the summer that they normally would have had. And so, I think that all of them have come back. They obviously have the year of experience under their belt. I think that each one of them has made progress, some in different ways. I think Lars and Demetrius physically will probably because they were in Europe and able to play more than the kids who stayed here. I think they, I think physically came back in pretty good shape. Kwani has had a really good off season, and I think he's grown. I think he's grown an inch. At least he looks like it. Joel's really I think had a very good last 6 weeks since he's gotten back, and so I hope that they'll all be better. DJ's continuing to round into shape, but conditioning is for all of them, and the drill work on their fundamentals in the off season was something that they didn't have. So I expect them to be better. We'll have to be patient as they make that progress, because I think all of them are going to probably face some frustration, because it's just not going to be as easy as if they'd have had the normal off season.
Mark, can you talk about what the challenges of assembling a non-conference schedule have been, given that you didn't even know if you were going to be able to play for so long, and other schools probably already had tried to fill in a lot of their scheduling positions, and where you're at on that thing, how close you are to having that schedule?
Well, I wish I could tell you how close we are. There's days I feel like we're close, Jeff, and then there's mornings I wake up and think, how are we ever going to put the pieces back together? Obviously, the initial challenge was the January 1 start date, in which we didn't know if we would play in November and December. Our opponents didn't know if we were going to play in November and December. Fortunately, with the advancement in testing and the developments that have occurred since then, and the move to November 25 by the NCAA and the adjustment by the Pac-12, all that's been great, except for the fact it cost us our MTE. They weren't willing to wait. They weren't willing to wait for the decision from the Pac-12, and so we begged them to wait. They needed to make a decision, or they were going to lose some other teams, and so
Kansas City.
Yes, and so we obviously lost that opportunity, and so now we have to find a way to replace that, because if you don't replace it, you can't play 27 games. And we've had other teams that have requested that we move dates. We still have to figure out what is the testing benchmarks and health protocol benchmarks that we have to meet, that our opponents have to meet for road games. And so putting all that together and having it all check all the boxes has been a real challenge. So we're not there yet. We're just not. And, hopefully in the next week or 10 days, we can make a little more progress, but we still have a ways to go.
Do you have any idea how many non-conference games you may get? And have they told you whether the Pac-12 schedule will begin in January or maybe at the end of December?
Well, I believe that the Pac-12 will play some December games. I truly believe that the Pac-12 will play some December games. That schedule's in flux also, because we know we're going to have some games where teams, the opponent may postpone the game, have to postpone the game because of a positive test or whatever. And so if you're going to have postponements, you need to be able to create some makeup opportunities down the road. So I don't think it's out of line to think, by the way, Justin Wilcox will buy me lunch if he plays a game before I do, because he told me the entire pandemic he thought that we would play before he did. You guys give me a great and expensive spot for him to take me, but we're going to have, it's likely that we could play a game. It's likely and possible that we could play a game and still not know the back end of our schedule. I don't think that's a huge possibility, but it's possible, because we still have to figure out, once we figure out kind of the structure of the Pac-12 schedule, we have to figure out TV assignments and so forth. But all I know is hopefully before November we can have a non-conference schedule in place. But I'll tell you, it's a lot of moving parts to that thing.
Are you able to tell us how many games you have nailed down at this point, or is that still moving?
That's moving. I mean, what's contracted and what's talked about are two different things. We have a non-conference date that was contracted that we're going to have to move. We have a couple non-conference road games that, we have to confirm testing strategy or testing benchmarks that can be met. So, the count, I'm not even sure I'm counting. I just know we got 2 or 3 we got to get figured out, and then we got 2 or 3 testing situations we need to iron out. So if you add those together, you got probably 4 or 5 in question.
How cooperative do you feel the NCAA, Pac-12 have been in allowing you guys you as coaches to have input in the process, and just how and involving you in all of this?
In which process? In scheduling?
Yeah, in scheduling and how sort of transparent have they been with you through this process as you try to restart this season?
Oh, the Pac-12's been, I think, very transparent. I think I've had a head coaches meeting with the Pac-12 every week for, I don't know, months, with the head coaches, and sometimes 4 in a week. I mean, we've had a ton of direct and honest conversations about, even as far back as, hey, if a team can come back and train, let's let them come back and start training, because it's the best thing for the student athletes. So there were teams in this league that were able to have workouts all summer when we were not able to, but that was the right thing to do for the players on their teams. It was the right thing for their mental health. It was the right thing for their growth and their development. And so, I think early in the process, the coaches partnered together and said, listen, let's do the best thing for the kids that we, and so, but we've had conversations, gosh, for months. I don't know when we started, but I mean, there's been several nights we've had 2-hour Zooms, and we had the same thing the next night. And so the Pac-12 has been very transparent. The Pac-12 coaches have had a tremendous partnership, just to try and make sure that our players, our fans, and everybody can have a season.
Can you tell us how the testing protocol has looked like for you guys in order to get you guys back in the gym?
Well, we have, Cal's done a tremendous job with the army of people that it takes to execute this thing safely. They really have. Josh Hummel and Ryan Cobb and everybody have really done a tremendous job. Jim Knowlton has been a can-do guy this entire time, which is what a good leader does. He's going. I think he had probably 9 or 10 plans in place, and let's figure out which one we have to use. And we did the same thing with our team. We have several plans in place, and we just decided whatever we had, which one we had to execute, we would. But the protocol has obviously a screening online before you even enter campus. You have to fill out a questionnaire just to be allowed to start the protocol on campus. Once you get to campus, temperature check, and then the daily testing is it's much like a doctor's office. It's sterile. It's a swab, deep into your nose, and it's not comfortable. You think you would get used to it, but it's if you do it right, I'm not sure you ever get used to it. But and then we wait a couple hours and we get the results, and keep our fingers crossed that they all come up negative.
Mark, do you have complete confidence that there will be a Pac-12 tournament? And has there been any talk about, because of all the logistical nightmares of getting that many teams together, that maybe they wouldn't have one this year?
No, Jeff, I think they're confident that they'll have a tournament. I think that they would really like to have a tournament. I think that the makeup opportunities that we would like to build into the schedule would occur before that. So, I think the hope and the strong confidence is that there will be a Pac-12 tournament. Obviously, we have some advantages with the testing agreement with Quadell. That's been tremendous, and so it allows us. I think the one curveball is that it's not going to be on a campus, and so we have to make some arrangements for the testing to occur. Obviously in Vegas, but I think everyone's pretty confident that we should have a tournament.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, maybe you already addressed this question because I got here a little bit late, but I was just curious the challenges of acclimating freshmen into a college basketball season with these kinds of, you know, unusual structures in place due to the virus. Just how challenging has it been getting Bowser, Celeste, and the freshmen kind of acclimated during this type of environment?
Well, it's been tremendous. Obviously we had small cohorts because of the health restrictions, and so Monty Bowser has yet to be in the gym with Matt Bradley, um, and they need to develop a chemistry to play together. I will say that the advantage that Jalen and Monty have this year that nobody had a year ago is that they now have guys with experience in how we operate, how we want to live, how we expect to function off the court, how hard we expect to work. They have great examples that they can turn to every day because we have some returning players this year where last year everyone was new. So that's been an advantage for them. But it's such a different year. Jalen was one of the last guys to get here. So he's still getting up to speed, and it's going to take him some time. Monty was one of the first kids to be on campus, and so he's probably at this point a little ahead of a lot of guys because he's been able to be here longer. But I think that if they'll continue to listen to the older players and the older guys continue to provide good leadership, hopefully the transition to them and acclimating to Division I basketball will be a little bit smoother.
I know you mentioned you're kind of getting back to being able to do 1-on-1, 2-on-2. Will Saturday be the first time you guys have been able to go 5-on-5 in 7 months?
Yes.
Wow. That's a heck of a layoff.
It's a huge layoff, and we did the right thing. And we obviously have, some local restrictions that we had to abide by and work through. And there's obviously in different parts of the country, people who played 5-on-5 all summer, and we're able to have workouts all summer. And that is what it is. Our team at this point, there's no denying that we're going to be behind today. Will we be able to catch all the way up? Well, that's our plan. Now we won't be able to do everything that we initially had planned to do because we're so far behind. But it'll be the first time in 7 months, and I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it'll be an ugly tape at certain points during the practice. But you know what? I also think that we also have a few guys who've played a ton of minutes who hopefully can get comfortable rather quickly.
Last call for questions for Coach. Everybody set? All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.